Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. We've got some exciting pro-revenge stories today, so let's jump right into our first story of the day by Vicodingh. I sued my boss because he fired me for wanting to attend a concert. During my gap year between studies, I decided to work for Company N. Company N was run by a husband, Dave, and wife, Karen, with their son, and basically treated their staff like a small family. All was well for about 2 months until I realized I had to ask for a day off since I wanted to attend the last Slayer concert the band would give in my country. There was about a month to go, so I sent an email asking for the day off and explaining why. This is where everything started to go downhill. I got a reply from the Karen and her reply was weird. She stated that that's not how asking for a day off works. I was confused to say the least. Not sure what to do, I thought she wanted a more formal way of asking, so I wrote a formal email asking for the day off. She shot an email back that said I really had to think it through what I was doing, which made even less sense to me. But I was hopeful since I never really got a specific no. The next workday rolls around. I arrived, locked up my bike, and headed inside ready for work. I immediately started looking for Dave to ask for answers. Before I could even open my mouth, he asked me, "Do you still want to go to that concert?" I didn't expect him to ask this, so I quickly answered yes. The only thing he said back was, "Okay, take off your vest and you can go home." I was stunned. And while the words started to sink in, I looked at my colleagues, which were just preparing for opening. When it finally sank in, anger flowed in. I am not a confrontational person, so I simply took off my vest and gave it to Dave. Without a word, I left and started biking home. When I got back home, I told my mother what had happened. We started sending emails for extra information and got very Karen-like emails back. After a couple emails which went basically nowhere, I looked up the laws for immediate dismissal. After reading up about it, I learned that in my country, somebody can only be immediately fired when caught stealing, frauding, the person isn't able to do the work, or refusal to do the work. I did neither of these. A day or two later, I met with my attorney and began the steps to sue the Company N. I told my lawyer what happened in detail and he was very confident I was in my right and she was not. So after trading even more emails between the three of us, we went to small claims. I came prepared in a suit with my attorney in tow, and Karen showed up alone. I guess she assumed she won because she thought she was in her right. The trial began and I was as professional and objective as I could be. Karen did the same. Well, for about half of the trial. When she realized evidence was piling up against her, she resorted to calling me a spoiled brat, among other things I don't know the English translation for. I'm safe to say that was the point the judge ruled in my favor. As per usual, I had to wait a month before I got the verdict black on white in the mail, but I won. It may have taken about 6 months from the moment I was told to go home to the point those 6 months of pay were transferred to my bank account, but it was 100% worth it. In the end, I went to the concert. It was the most awesome and most profitable concert I have ever been to in my life. I don't even understand why saying that you want to go to this concert is grounds for firing anybody. Was it because they thought Slayer was the devil or something? Usually I'm able to come up with some kind of speculation as to why somebody did some stupid activity, such as firing somebody over wanting to go to a concert, but I'm not able to wrap my head around it. That said, here's a fun question for you guys. Is there any band or singer or any musician out there that would make you more than happy to quit your average satisfactory job? If there is, let me know who the musician or the band is in the comments down below. Our next story is by Audginator. Bully me? Fine, but I'll start a fire as I leave. The title is meant as a metaphor, there was not a literal fire. I wish I had though. I worked at a Fortune 500 company for almost a year and a half. I won't name names, but it was a shady company to say the least. I started in their quality department, but I was literally fired for being to quality for the quality department because I would report sales agents that were forcing crying retirees into making a purchase. So they moved me to the business verification department so I could instead make these customers happier with their purchase. I'm sorry to say I was far too good at this job as well. I got constant kudos from the quality department that I always hit my marks. I was always verified and corrected information, followed procedure to a T, and even took on several extra projects just to help out, including preparing and sending gifts out to our higher volume customers on behalf of the sales reps. I was always on time, I was friendly with everyone, and yet I didn't quite fit in. As a matter of fact, only one person on this team was someone I could talk to. The others were all mid to late 30s with kids and husbands or ex-husbands. Best way to describe them, it's the Heathers that grew old and hated it. They would constantly bully me. I don't mean tease, I mean they would joke about forcing me to work in a broom closet. They would report me for cell phone use even though cell phones were allowed, just no recording or video calling since we would verify card and address information verbally. They would deliberately leave me out of company food orders and celebrations, and even convinced the manager not to promote me and instead promoted someone who had been there less time with worse quality only because she fit in better. She'd literally cost the company money shipping product to the wrong address multiple times and still was promoted within the department. They would also berate me for the state of my desk. I will say I don't keep a super clean desk, but we are not consumer facing. And it was my organized chaos. It wasn't old food or trash, just a general scattering of notes and trinkets that never overflowed past my desk. The real juice here though was about 4 months into this position, I started documenting all the bullying. Every instance, every word, with a date and time and often a reference within the company's system for where to locate proof of the bullying, all on those little notepads. Well, one day I come back from lunch and they had gone through my desk to clean it, going so far as to move my trinkets and pictures around on my desk. I took everything home that day, but I know they'd actually been after my notebooks. Thankfully, I'd just had to buy a third one. I filled the first 2 up, so it was mostly empty. The final straw came on a fateful February afternoon. It was a Thursday. One coworker I got along with and I had been texting back and forth, mostly Craigslist ads for job openings and funny memes to get us through the day. Because remember, phones are allowed. She goes to lunch as I'm coming back, and I get called into their lawyer's office. Me and my one and only friend were being given formal write-ups. Why? Direct quote, "Your coworkers know you were texting about them and laughing, and they don't like it." So I was getting a write-up because of an assumption that they had no proof of to begin with and wasn't even remotely true. The topper of this was as I exited the write-up, one of them was FaceTiming her husband, which was against the rules, but of course, she wasn't even spoken to about it. I was done. Beyond done. I put my head down, barely worked the rest of the day. When I got home, I texted my manager and let her know I was using PTO and I'd be out Friday. I spent the whole weekend working on my resignation because I wanted it to be just right. You see, I'd been there a year and a half at that point, and I knew a few things about how this shady company operates by now. I knew on Thursday this was going to be my first time ever to quit a job, and I wanted to do it right. I wrote in there specific details of the bullying. Dates, times. I mentioned I had many more examples documented. I wrote how it was a known behavior and even condoned by the manager. I wrote about the write-up. Then, after many critiques, I saved it as a draft. I walked in on Monday morning, 8 a.m. on the nose. I didn't bother clocking in, and I'd already cleaned out my desk, remember? I sat down, printed 2 copies of my email, and then sent it directly to the CEO. I of course dropped off a copy with HR and then walked out. Not a word to my manager, only my one friend knew the plan. You see, I knew they'd snuff out the fire if I said anything to them about why I quit. Sweep it under the rug. Oh well, one more person who quit. By involving the CEO, I eliminated that as an option. In 30 minutes, their lawyer was calling me for an exit interview. They were worried I would sue for a hostile working environment. In hindsight, I should have, but I was more worried about my mental health than monetary compensation. I found out from my friend that I had in fact started that fire. The whole department was put under review for bullying. Cell phones were completely banned, and the manager and her lackeys, last I heard, had been demoted. I also heard whispers that they dissolved it completely and merged it with the quality team, but I'm not positive on that. I'm sure it didn't fix everything, but I hope they at least keep their hands out of other people's desks from now on. Yeah, I definitely think OP had a case to have a lot more go on than just a little reshuffling of the decks. Just the fact that they went through your desk and your personal belongings and shuffled that stuff around and clearly took something, that alone should have been enough to have something happen. Constant bullying to the point where you filled 2 notebooks and started on a 3rd? That's a very easy lawsuit. And our final story of the day is by Deadlock 1989. Pass me for manager promotion and hire your useless credit-stealing friend, I'll destroy your career. So this is not my story. Got permission to post from the Pro-Revenger himself. But due to nature of events, I don't mind my account being made into a sacrificial lamb if it got back to people involved, as my account is essentially expendable. So the story. Dave, not real name, has been working for an IT programming company for just over 9 years, getting a good rep as a hard worker, and all his colleagues knew him and can trust him to be a big help in times of trouble, like during big difficult projects for major clients. Dave's manager, John, was planning to retire and thought Dave would be a good replacement, so put his name forward as a recommendation and started showing him the ropes of his potential new job just to give him a glimpse of what he may be asked to undertake. A month later, John puts in his notice of retirement and Dave's department manager, Michael, starts the interview process. Some character info. Whilst John was a good manager, very people-friendly, Michael was not. All Michael cared about was numbers and reports. He didn't even know who most of his staff was, nor did he have very much interaction with them. Back to the story. Michael had started the interviews to fill John's position, Dave being one of the interviewees, and Dave thought the interview went really well. A few nervous months later, Michael announces the new manager. It's an outside employment, not an internal promotion. Dave was disappointed but brushed it off as, "There is always someone better for the job." But in less than a week, he realized just how wrong he was. The new manager, Darren, was below useless. He didn't know how to spell computer program, let alone write one. Turns out he was old friends with Michael, and Michael had helped him fabricate his resume to get him the job. The news quickly spread to all the programmers, but there was nothing they could do as Michael was the person all complaints had to go through and he buried all of them. So no one above Michael knew of Darren's incompetence. Darren from day one had been pushing all his work onto others and then claiming credit for the work they had done, getting bonuses for completed work he didn't deserve. Darren spent his days watching movies, napping, playing games, and occasionally pretending to be a manager when the need arose, but never wrote a single line of code. After 3 months of this, the extra workload was starting to affect Dave and others, but talking to Michael would do nothing, so Dave devised a plan to sort it out. Time for the pro-revenge. Dave had talked with all the other programmers and agreed next time Darren pushed a major project onto them to purposely sabotage the work, not in a big way, just enough to cause some bugs and glitches that will really light a fire under Michael and Darren. It took about another month, but a really big project came in. Immediately, Darren started pushing his work onto others and stealing credit, so the plan was put into action. It was easy to accomplish, especially as Darren had no clue about coding, and Michael didn't care as long as the project was done in good time. The project was done, saved, and sent to the client, with almost all the major work credit being stolen by Darren. It took less than 2 days for the client to call back, complaining about how the new program has damaged his systems and was wreaking havoc on his company. The client wanted it fixed and a full refund. The bosses were pissed at Michael. Michael tried to shift the blame onto Darren. Darren tried to shift the blame onto the programmers. Dave and the programmers just pointed out the program wasn't their project and denied any involvement in its development, which brought the attention back to Darren. The fallout. With the bosses coming down on Darren for what happened, he confessed he lied on his resume, and he ratted out Michael about how he helped him fabricate it. Dave and programmers denied any wrongdoing, just stating Darren must have damaged the program somehow. Michael and Darren were promptly fired and replaced. Dave and the rest fixed the errors that Darren had created, and the client was happy. In the end, Dave didn't get the promotion, but left the company a year later for a better job. Yep, I feel no ounce of remorse for Darren here. You're gonna lie, fabricate your resume, and get a job that's cushy, you're not doing anything, and you're pushing all your work onto the shoulders of other people? Personally, I'm not showing any molecularly sized piece of remorse for this dude. Clearly, he was a bad person, he did some crappy stuff, and in the end, he was made to look like a fool. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today, so if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and subscribe and turn notifications on if you haven't. All of those things help the channel grow immensely, so thank you no matter what you did. Whether you just watched the video, whether you liked, subscribed, whatever you did. Thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. That said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here.